Hello and welcome to another video in the series Off Meta with the Moose Skaven Weapon Teams. Today it's going to be myself helming the Skaven against a great Lizardman player, Lord Shaftesbury, helming the Lizardman. So for my army we have the Master Assassin with Looming Dread, a great slow for enemy heroes and lords. Eshin Sorcerer with Veil of Shadows, which of course the Overcast has a slow and silence and leadership effect. Skitter and Leap for stalking and making my units invisible. And then we have a disgusting naked mole rat, the Brood Horror. Did any of you guys watch the show Kim Possible as a kid? Any 90s, 2000s kid? There was like a teenage protagonist. She was like a spy, and the animal sidekick was a naked mole rat. Naked mole rats must have fallen off because could you imagine a TV executive now being like, animal sidekick, naked mole rat? That's how we're going to make money. I feel like they don't even exist anymore. Like, has anyone seen a naked mole rat? I don't know. Anyways, now brought to you this video in 1080p stunning HD. The technology was discovered. For the Lizardmen, we have Double Agent Salamander, a really good anti-infantry, anti-weapons team, kind of anti-everything, honestly. I mean, the terror is significant against Skaven too with their low morale. They're not horrible melee fighters. They're not good either, but having fire damage is good against the Brood Horror and its healing, and those missile artillery-esque shots will do really well into my Skaven slaves and weapons teams. Bunch of skinks with throwy sticks, a fire toad, with Burning Head, going to be melting the Skaven slaves and banishment. Two Scarvets are going to be with Colossal Strike, so they can duel my single entities, my Rat Ogres, and things of that nature. All right, let's move up to the beginning of the game. We have the units approaching. I have a little color of the rainbow weapons teams: two globes, one warp fire thrower, one rattling gun ROR. Skitter and Leap getting casted here on these three wolf rats. Remember, I can't see these chameleon stinks because they are stalked. Going for a pick on the ancient salamander, diving in deeply, possibly greedily. I see the chameleon stinks, reroute onto them, dive in right away, getting some good damage. The ancient salamander dives in, and it terror routes all of the wolf rats immediately. But fleeing is kind of like we say in software, is a feature, not a bug. Because these units will run off to the side, Skaven get a speed boost when they're fleeing, and these units will most likely rally, and I'll be able to bring them back into the fight later on. One is going to get routed off the battlefield, though. Really nice control by Lord Shaftesbury, sending those Feral Cold ones after them. Yeah, but those two other wolf rats do rally. I did get some nice damage on one of the chameleon skinks, actually, and the damage value went okay, except for losing that one wolf rat. That is a pretty unfortunate blunder to start things off. My opponent going to be moving up the Scarvets onto Objective 3, taking that. I do not want to contest that. My weapons teams will not have a good line of sight through these trees and hills. This is a really great map, I think, for that reason. There's kind of a non-shooting lane over on Objective 3, a community-made map, by the way. It is in the official map pool for CA now, but it was created by a community member. And then for the shooting, you can have a nice little lane in between Objective 2 and Objective 1 here. Calling out a Plague Claw Catapult, kind of like the budget version of the Poison Wind mortars, and honestly, I think I'm liking it more. The damage is kind of comparable. It's cheaper. You don't care about protecting it as much. I just really great. Skitter and Leap here is going to make it so my opponent won't be able to see. Oh, no, they're still locked in. Did not go stock completely, but the speed boost will get me to get some bombs off on these chameleon skinks. Yeah, it didn't go fully stock there, unfortunately, but that damage is going to do really well into chameleon skinks. They may have missile resist, but they don't have grenade resist. Plague Claw Catapult going to be forcing my opponent probably to make the first move. We'll see if the ancient salamanders can outtrade in the shooting department. My opponent moving around the flank, around the cool looking temple cliff here with some cold ones, probably getting ready to dive some weapons teams. Skaven slaves getting routed off the middle makes sense. That's what they're there for. Switching targets with the catapult. Oh, not quite yet. Need to switch on to those javelin skinks there. Warp throwers moving up, but taking some shots from the Ancient Salamander. That one didn't too much. Warp Lightning Cannon getting called in, hitting a tree, unfortunately. But getting a nice shot on the Ancient Salamander there. My two weapons teams on the hill, ready to do some damage. Wolf Rats do discover the Feral Cold Ones. I saw my opponent moving around the flank, so I had them there waiting to make sure no ambushes were coming. And I do see it's coming now. Smoke concealment bombs popped on the teeth breakers, going to be moving them in. My opponent's summoning in. There's some cold ones there that need to rally that chased after those routing wolf rats. Burning head, nice, going to melt some Skaven slaves. Chameleon stalkers, it looks like, moving up the flanks. So they are stalked and unspottable. So going to be moving around to try and get on my weapons teams, I presume. Veil of Shadow is going to go down on these two units, which is going to slow them, and it kind of like pushes the unit in a weird way. Like you can see they're kind of like shuffling now and not going anywhere. This is going to allow the wolf rats and rat ogres to kind of counter ambush and catch out these units that were going to come around my flank. So that is a nice little pick there. Globes still getting their shots off. Warp fire throwers dusting off these chameleon skinks, and then Stinky Naked Mole Rat going to come in and terror out both of these units, just melting skinks right now. Banishment is going to melt some more Skaven slaves. I should not have marched my globe straight into the banishment, but I do. What can you do there? Taking a huge amount of damage. Might be getting shot too. Nope, just melting my own units. Shots from the Warp Lightning Cannon going down the Slan Mage of Fire on this flank. We are winning, but there is some javelins with pokey sticks who are obstructed, unfortunately, for my opponent. Not going to be able to throw there. Chameleon Stalkers coming around the flank, still hidden, still unaware of their existence. Look at the damage from the catapult. I mean, really putting a lot of pressure on my opponent. Excuse me, for just a 900 gold unit. I mean, I am loving these guys. Whereas the Poison Wind Globe Mortar, the ROR, would have to be somewhere up here in the middle. My opponent could be diving it a lot easier, but the leadership effect and damage is really solid. Diving in with the Naked Mole Rat, a little far possibly, getting a poke. Croxigar and Saurus Scarvet, both Saurus Scarvets going to really need to get out of there, which is nice. The Brute Horrors do have 95 speed, so they can really move and scoot. And they have regeneration. So while it took a bunch of damage there, it's just going to move into the back line and heal up through that. Veil of Shadows going down, not the greatest positioning. Could have popped it right here on top of the Warp Grinders. Burning Head going down, cooking some Skaven slaves. I do lock these guys in place with a snare. Would be nice to get the Warp Quake off, but my unit is error routed, so that's not going to happen. Warp Fire Throwers melting more skinks. I've moved the Rattling Guns up into place, but they look to not have been able to get a line of sight potentially, or not seeing it. There's the shots coming in on top of the Warp Lightning Cannon. Nice play from my opponent, getting the Shield of the Old Ones in for damage resist, but that one Scarvet in the front is getting seriously melted by the Rattling Guns right now. So probably time to pull them back. Warp Lightning Cannon punished, but the sound, the Horn of War is called by the Lizards. Crocscore's diving in. Flank still secured. Chameleon Stalkers coming in, possibly. Yep, they have popped their ambush, going for the jugular, trying to cut my front line off and rout them. Master Assassin falling back. Scarvets chasing after the Brute Horde, trying to get the pick. Nice Burning Head there, going to melt. Possibly, looks like it catches just the edge of the units, but the leadership effect will be there with the terror route probably from the Ancient Salamander. A little friendly cookage from the Lizardmen there, but the guns are potentially going to get compromised here. Doom Flayers moving in to try and stop the tide. Going to be nice as long as they can avoid the mass of the Feral Cold Ones. Damage value is pretty even, but the lines are getting very fragile here for the Skaven. Those units that came around the flank and were fighting looped around, have now crashed into the back of my opponent. Veil of Shadows doing a leadership debuff here. If I can get the catapult on them, those would stack and be really nice. But the Naked Mole Rat, though getting really low, has combined with the Master Assassin and going in for the goon attempt here on the Scarvet. Gonna do some nice damage. Pulling, almost pull back the Brute Horror. Turns around for for a little chomp before he goes. Scarvet getting really low, might go down. Ripperdactyl Rhinos really good into weapons teams. Banishment going down. The Ancient Salamander all the way in the backfield, trying to shut down the shooting while they can. Ripperdactyl's gonna shut down some slingers, not too big of a deal though. Wolf Rats, Rat Ogres, and Doom Flayers moving up to crush the diving lizard units. The Brood Horror here with another potential pick. It is weak to fire damage, so this will be a tough duel for it, but its stats are a bit better than the Ancient Salamander, so should be able to get the pick combined with the Eshin Sorcerer. Ripperdactyl's ripping through things, as they are named to do. Master Assassin, a little out of its element, but might be able to take out this Scarvet here, who is super low. Rat Ogres punching into Croc scores, really good place for them to be. Veil of Shadows going down, slowing the Ripperdactyl Riders. Catapult shots coming in. Rattling guns shooting into some Feral Cold Ones, getting a nice slow on them. And the Rats have stabilized the back line and started to push forward. Warp Lightning Cannon shots going in. Doom players need to get out of there. They don't want to be tied up into the enemy mass with all these Croxagores and Ripperdactyls. Not the place they want to be. They not routed, but they are going to move out of there. Feral Cold Ones getting melted here by a variety of units. Toad deciding no thank you, actually. I'm not going into that little mess of rats. Pulling back. Summoning in more Skaven slaves. Catapult is almost out of ammunition. Some globes coming in, going to be able to provide some nice damage. The unit of Feral Cold Ones, unfortunately, the dreaded Tactical Reserves is in the back line. More Cold Ones coming up, more Skinks. I did take Objective 3 with some rallying Skaven units. Again, their low leadership is not a bug, it is a feature. Warp Lightning Cannon shooting into those Ripperdactyls there. This Ancient Salamander and Sora Scarvet are going to get shut down as this just gross mob of seething rats moves forward and is now hunting the Lizardmen heroes. Ancient Salamander probably going to go down. Mobility Scooter Toad needs to pull back. Some Chameleon Stalkers and Chameleon Skinks going to come in to try and buffer there. My opponent is up on value, but is holding Objective 3 pretty solidly. Nice burning head. Oh, looks like it actually somehow went through the middle of every unit but didn't hit any of them. Really lucky for myself. Catapults crushing into these Skink cohorts here. Warp Grinders would be a really nice snare right now, but looks like I miss it and the opponents do slip by. Veil of Shadows silencing the Slan Mage Priest, meaning he won't be able to cast Burning Head. Getting terror routed there for a moment as the units crash in, but the Ripperdactyls come in to buffer and reinforce. Chameleon Stalkers shooting their grenades. Ancient Salamander has rallied. Whoa, what was that there? Sorry about that. Getting shots off. So I may have overextended. Master Assassin coming in for a swing on the Toad. The Ripperdactyls could cut off my retreat here. Shield of the Old Ones going down. Going to buffer all these units. Really precarious situation here for myself. If these units rout, they may never come back. Rat Ogres coming in. Warp Grinders trying to reinforce over here. Skaven Slaves trying to pressure Objective 3 lightly, not too much, because really I need to reinforce. There's the Burning Head that I'd silenced a moment before. These are usually mostly large entities, not going to have a huge effect, but it looks like I do stabilize. The Ripperdactyls are thrown off. Rat Ogres, the Brood Horror, who has just been a menace this game, decides no thank you, actually not going to go back there, going to go heal. Rat Ogre's routing. Eshin Sorcerer holding on. Warp Grinder ability doesn't seem to have caught anything in its wake, unfortunately. Objective 3 is going to get taken as the lizards fall back further and further to try and hold. So the globes getting some nice shots onto the javelins. Ancient Salamander coming up in desperation, out of ammo now to get a swing on. Warp Quake going down, though. Going to be crushing these Lizardmen units in here, hitting almost half the Lizard army here. Going to be routing these Chameleon Skinks. If I can get the Brood Horror in here, that's going to be a nice terror rout. Chameleon Skinks holding the flank. Feral Cold Ones buffering for them, but they do get in. A really nice counter to Chameleon Skinks is the Hounds. Look at the damage that's going to show up really quickly on that unit. Rattling guns have been holding on, even with a low model count, getting some shots in there. Brood Horse still holding somehow, and that is going to be a triple cap, and I needed it. Desperately close on points here. Wolf Rat's trying to go after the enemy Slann, Mage, Priest. Shield of the Old One's going to keep him buffered for a little while. Ancient Salamander has been called back in, but the tide of rats is upon us, mowing down the lizards. Globes doing a ton of damage onto the skink cohort there. Warp grinders don't want to be in melee, but they've got to be somewhere at this point. The mobility squad with the brood horror at the helm does turn around and is going to make its way onto the skink cohort, who are snared, and going to mow them down. A lot of rats moving forward. Slann, Mage, Priest, very low cold-blooded, going to be popped to keep it active. But the rattling guns have come up, and they have their target. Going to be mowing down Burning Head. Going to be trying to counter, but it won't do too much against the high armor of the weapons teams. And I think that Slann Mage Priest is going to go down from the rattling gunfire, and that's probably going to be GG at that point. Great game there. Really fun one. Lizards had me pushed back. I thought the army was going to break, as the Skaven want to do, but the Brood Horror and the Master Assassin held the line. Really solid value on the Naked Mole Rat. Really quite the carry there. I mean, the healing too, almost heal capped himself. The speed allowed him to duck into engagements and out of engagements. I've been experimenting with the Mutant Rat, the Brood Horror, over the Mutant Rat Ogre, who kind of fulfills that same niche of duelist, but the Mutant Rat Ogre, while having better melee stats, does not have the healing or speed, so cannot choose its engagements. Globes did really solid damage. Rattling Guns did okay. Master Assassin got some nice swings in there. Wolf Rats did really nice damage. Slann Mage Priest cooked rats, of course. Ancient Salamanders did very nicely as well. Scarvets, however, did not unfortunately get their performance they were looking for. For my artillery, wow, look at the value from that Warp Lightning Cannon. I didn't even notice it was doing that well. Plague Claw Catapult had some nice pressure applications. Rat Ogres did nicely. Croc Scores also had some nice spankings with their paddles. Thank you for watching. We'll have more videos in the Skaven Weapon Team series, and we'll be starting Off Meta with the Moose series for some more factions, so stay tuned. Catch you next time.